ROI and lead time are the two top factors that most sellers ignore and why most sellers have cash flow issues. And it's the number one reason why I was able to scale from 0 to 6 million in 6 months. If I wouldn't have had extreme detail and attention to my ROI and my lead time, I may have only made 300,000 instead of 3 million in that period of time. You guys will find out why in this video. If you have any cash flow issues, you can really solve it by just honing in on your ROI and your lead time. These are the two main levers that you're going to be pulling to get success. Now, the one thing that is dependent on this is having the ability to add more products and knowing how to be successful. But even so, if you're not able to add more products faster and you're still learning, an ROI is going to give you the opportunity to have way less risk comparatively to your expected outcome. So we covered that in the expected value video where we showed that if something with the wristbands, it could pay off 38x over 2 years, and your worst case scenario was you lost 1,000. Best case, you make 38, 40 grand. So we're going to illustrate why lead time is the most important right now. So here's the question. Would you rather have $1 million or would you rather get a penny? And then every single day you get to double that penny. And so you go somewhere and, day 1, you have 1 penny. Day 2, you have 2 pennies. Day 3, you have 4 pennies, and so on and so on. Well, I would rather have the penny than having the $1 million, because if we do the math out here, at the end of 31 days, you end up having $10 million. It's pretty crazy growth. So this is all because of when you get at least 100% ROI, now you're doubling your money every time and you go into more of an exponential growth curve. So the higher your ROI, the faster you grow. But that doesn't matter if your lead time isn't as fast. So let's say this one on the left was where you doubled every day. But on the left, let's say you just doubled every 2 days, okay? So let's say your lead time was twice as fast. You had a lead time of 2 days instead of on the left where you have 1. Well, you end up only having $327 at the end of 31 days. It's because it's all about turnaround time at the end of the day. So you just end up hitting this crazy exponential growth curve. The better you get your ROI and the better that you get your lead time. Now, let's say that our lead time was 2 days, but we still were let's say I increased the ROI on this other side and we could change that graph now. If we take a look here on the second column now right here, I've changed this to instead have a 300% ROI instead of a 100% ROI. So that what that actually means is a 300% ROI means you multiply your money by 4. So for every dollar you put in, you get back 4. And then when you put in $4, you end up getting back 16, okay? And you made, so 16 minus 4, you have 12, okay? So that's 300% ROI because that's your profit. And we're able to get the same amount of growth here, and we end up at $10,737,000 regardless. But here's the difference. We literally had to make way more money, and all we did was change the lead time from 2 days to 1 day. Now, I know this is kind of extreme where you're going to ever find a 1 or 2 day lead time, but this is just to prove out the point. So I focused extremely, extremely hard on my business on increasing my ROI and lowering my lead time. So I just want to illustrate that point. By making the lead time half as short, we were able to make 100% ROI instead of 300% ROI. So that means if you made, you had $1 and you made $1 on profit on top of that, the other one, we had $1 and we made $3 of profit. So we literally made 3 times as much money, but we grew to the same amount by just having half the lead time. It was as powerful as making 3 times as much profit. So one more way to explain this is obviously lead time is important because if you double your money, but your lead time's a year, well, then $1 turns into 2 after 1 year, and then it takes you 2 years just to get $4. So obviously, the shorter the lead time, the way better that it's going to be. So I want to show you guys something kind of cool. So just mentally remember that image of the penny right now, and I'll show you something. All right, so this is literally what happened to my business. I had the exact exponential growth that this penny example does. And it was because I put every ounce of my energy and time and effort into decreasing my lead time and increasing my ROI. So I was constantly raising prices and making sure that I was always getting the highest possible ROI combined with sales, obviously. But I was actually not making as much money in the short term because I knew that it was helping me grow everything exponentially. I know it seems kind of weird, but we'll show you guys in a little bit here. Now, if I go back to the sheet and we take a look at the typical private labeler first before I show you my example. At the top here, somebody will go and typical private labeler, about 45-day lead time, 15 days shipping, so about 60 days in between every, like you buy, you essentially order and then 60 days later hits the Amazon warehouse. All right. So, and maybe they're going and getting about 119% ROI. And essentially at the end of the day, they're making a 40% margin. So they think, wow, this is great. But what they're missing out on is that ROI and that lead time aspect. So let's say instead you were to have 180% ROI, but a 43-day cumulative lead time. Well, you're able to get to $460,000 instead of $78,000. Now, what happens if you were to have a 367% ROI and you had the same 43-day lead time? Now, it doesn't seem like much of a difference. Well, it ends up being $3.55 million, which is very accurate to what I did. These are very accurate of my numbers of 367% ROI and about my lead time. All right, so above in that example that I just showed you guys, I was altering ROI and the margin and the lead time, okay? So that some people are like, well, come on, you can't. Come on, of course, that makes sense. But let me just show you how you could, by just altering lead time, it makes an extreme difference to your business. So let's say we're going and we're looking at something and we're talking with our manufacturer and, he offers a 60-day lead time, or we could try to argue and get a 45-day lead time. Or, we're just comparing between two people. And most people don't really blink or think at this. Okay, 45 days, whatever. It's, it's 2 weeks. It doesn't make much of a difference. And let's say it's the same margin and everything. Now, I want to show you just how important that 15 days really is to your business. Now, caveat, you need to be able to add products fast. You need to be able to add products as fast as you can. But most people, they can't fund them as fast as they can come up and create them. So let's go over to the spreadsheet now. All right, so if we take a look at this spreadsheet, right here what we have is this is the 60-day lead time up here, and then we have the 45-day lead time here, 60, 40, okay? Everything else is the same, but at the end of 180 days, this one has $78,000, and this one has $171,000. Now that's over 100% more profits comparatively to the other one, just by getting 15 days lead time. Okay, guys, so I am about to make the argument that you will make more money by making less money. Okay, so let me show you here. So let's say, okay, we're gonna argue for that 30-day lead time instead of 45, and we're gonna we're gonna pay you $9.50 per unit instead of $8.50 per unit. Now, what we're able to do then is, we get less units for our amount invested, but guess what? Because our lead time is faster now, we don't have to order as much. And what ends up happening is we get our money back a lot faster because that lead time, imagine if it was just 1 day, you'd only have to buy 1 day of inventory and you'd get it back the next day. And then you could just keep refunding, or you could keep doing it, and you're not having to float all of this money. Your risk is way reduced. So we're actually able to make $30,000 more in that 180 days by paying more per unit and making less per unit. It's all about having that capital and being able to invest it into more and more products. So let's just show how this really compounds out over time. So let's say that we extended this to 360 days. All of a sudden, you end up making twice as much money as you did before by making less per unit because you're able to keep reinvesting it. So I hope that you guys kind of understand how you can make more money by making less money by having a faster lead time. So we're going to talk about why ROI is important, kind of draw it out here. I'll show you more later. So let's say there's two scenarios, A and B. One, where you get a 70% ROI with A, and then you get a 200% ROI with B, okay? So what the difference here is that you're able to, when you sell all of A, then you get all of, you're able to reorder A, and then you have 70% left over. So you could put that money into a new product, but it couldn't be as big of an opportunity as A because you didn't make back the whole amount of money as profit. So you could have to go after a smaller opportunity or wait until longer. Now in B, we're able to fund 2 more product opportunities because we had a 200% ROI. Most people think that margin is really important, but it's really not. So if we take a look at margin versus ROI, I really don't care about margin as long as I have a high ROI. Because think of it, if you're investing all of your money at any given time, or you're investing money into a product, you just care about how much did you put in and how much do you get back, not how much of the total sales price. So like just a super simple example, let's say it was $100 that you sell it for, okay? And you only get back 10. What if you only paid $1? You just 10x your money. Go find a 10. Now you have $9 in profit, okay? And then you could now go find, in theory, like if you were to be able to find this, now you could go find 9 more of these opportunities, okay? And after 1 month, or like, just in this theoretical world, in 1 month, you turned $1 into 10. And then now you have all those $9, okay? So that's like 1, 2, 3, blah, blah, blah. And then you turn those into ones that grow into making you another $10. And those make 9 more products, and then pretty soon you're at the freaking moon, okay? But that's a very unreal world, but just trying to illustrate that margin does not matter unless you can't add more ideas. If you can't add any more ideas and you have just a crazy amount of money and you have no cash flow issues, then you might want to focus on increasing your margins and not just so much on these ROI opportunities, because you can't add any more sales to your company at all, no matter what you do. That's the only time that margins should matter. ROI, if you're trying to grow, ROI helps you grow. But if you're flatlined, well, now you're focused on, well, how do I get more of that pie to be profit? But that's the only point. And my guess is if you're watching this video, you're not at that point. So focus on ROI to really grow your business fast. So I'm going to illustrate why this is actually so important. And then we have a more exact formula breaking this down so you can use it tactically, but I want to show you guys visually why it's important. Okay, so let's say on your first order, it requires a stack of cash, okay? And then now you have to reorder and you have to pay a second stack of cash, okay? But how do you pay for that second stack of cash? Well, you either pay from it from your pocket or from the sales from the first order. But if you have a long lead time, let's say you may have only sold maybe 25% of that first amount of cash, okay? So we've only sold 25% of that original order, okay? So now take a look at this. Okay, so we sold 1/4 of it, so we've gotten this back. Of course, we get the amount that we paid, but now what is your ROI? So if we have a 70% ROI, then the next stack of cash isn't as tall. So maybe, so this is like what we got back from the inventory, and then here's the profit, maybe like that, okay? So of this, but look, we only have not even enough for that. So essentially what we have back is like half of the first order. And we have to fund this one too. So now we have to fund 1.5 of the original order because we didn't make enough back. But if we were to have more of what if we had a 300% ROI? Well, then this stack of cash, if we had a 300% ROI, we'd get back the original amount plus 3. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, wait, look, we funded the whole thing. So that is all paid for. We've gotten back all the money that we put in, and then we put all that back into there, and we don't have any money issues ever. We only had to put up 1 times the original order. Kind of a messy drawing, but then here's the thing. Because we have such a high ROI, if we get to the next order, by the time we've sold that, we end up having 4 times because we now have sold a whole initial order. So we get back all that money for that initial order plus 3 more. 1, and so 2, and then it goes to 3. So now all of a sudden we've paid for it by the time that order is sold, we can now start 3 new products. And this, we never run into cash flow issues with this product because it has a high ROI. All right. Now, where does lead time come into play with this? If we have a smaller lead time, this is the only thing that changes. That initial stack of cash is just smaller. Okay? Because you can reorder faster, so you don't have to buy as much at one time. So if we increase the ROI, then we get more back and solve the cash flow issue. But we can also reduce the amount that's required in the beginning by having a lower lead time. So it's a combination of both of those, because essentially by having a smaller initial stack, well, let's say you've only got so much money at any given point, but if each order has a smaller initial required stack, then you can make more products, okay? And if it returns more of that initial stack, okay, then you have more products to fund. So if you get a lot of products that require a smaller stack by having a shorter lead time and have a high ROI, you can grow really exponentially. But if you get a lot of orders that are tall stacks and small lead times, then now the amount of cash required actually increases over time and then eventually decreases. So by choosing something with, here's just your quick little trick. If you get something with a 200% ROI and 45 days or less of lead time you shouldn't have too many cash flow issues with it. But if you go with a really long lead time, and not above 100% ROI, you run into a lot of cash flow issues. Now, some people think the way to make more money is, well, I should just increase the amount that I buy because I get a lower price. While you may get, so let's say this. So they're like, aha, well, if I increase my order amount, then instead of being here for an ROI, I'm now here. Look at that. That's better. But wait, it's not like that. Because guess what you just did? You made your stack of cash taller. So why is that second stack taller? Because you just bought more units. Because unless you somehow negotiated a lower price with the same lead time and no more quantity required to buy it, then you're of course going to have to pay more. So if it's $10 a unit and you bought 1,000 and then you negotiated it down to $850, but you have to buy 2,000, well, you just tied up a lot more cash. So your ROI is higher, but if you're running into cash flow issues, you just hide up all your cash to make a little bit extra ROI, but you'd actually be better off by finding, instead, with that extra part of your cash right here, you'd be better off finding something that would additionally have a high ROI or a new product, because that's going to be way higher amount than that little bit extra that you would get by getting more quantity. Here's the math. So like we said, $10, and let's say you were getting 86% ROI. And then what we do is we go back to the example we showed earlier in the video. So I changed it to 10, and you get 86% ROI right there. But let's say we negotiated to the 850, and all of a sudden we're getting 119% ROI. So at 850, we're getting a 119% ROI. But you need to look at this. So let's say we've invested $10,000 at 86% ROI. But here we have to invest $17,000 at 119% ROI. So as we just said, you have to get a higher quantity from your supplier to get that lower price. So that's why it's $17,000 for the 119% and then $10,000 for the 86%, because we paid more to have a less minimum order quantity. Let's just quickly look at what I was explaining there. So it costs you $10,000 to buy 1,000 units. And then if you were to lower it at $10 a piece, and if you were to lower it to $850, then it costs you $8,500. But to get that $850 price, you have to buy 2,000 units. And we're assuming that they sell 350 units a month. So by buying the 2,000 units, he's actually buying about 5-6 months of inventory, because I think this is a good idea because it's increasing my profit per unit and my ROI. Well, you'll see why that's a mistake. You're selling the same amount. Okay, so you're going to end up getting back the same amount. And essentially, you end up getting a $10,000 profit versus an $8,600 profit. But you have to look at how much you invested. Okay, so in here, remember that we invested $10,000 and we made $8,600 profit. So our ROI was 86% because we forecasted inventory correctly. But if you buy extra inventory because you think you're getting less per unit and you're just having dead inventory sitting there, you're actually getting a 59% ROI. What? Well, look at this, okay? So what you're doing is you invested $17,000, but you only made $10,000 in that time period. Okay, so that's a 59% ROI. So you've missed out on this thing called opportunity cost. So you've missed out on opportunity costs. And that's what this whole video is actually really about. By lowering your lead time, you reduce your risk and increase your ROI, you lower your risk, and you are able to have many more opportunities to add. So as long as you have the opportunity to add more products and the skills to do that, you can. And what you end up doing by buying more inventory to make more money is you'll lose more money because you're losing out on the opportunity to do something else. So what you could have done then instead with that extra $7,000, all right, you could have put that into something that, the other thing to mention is, that extra money you did, you might have saved a little bit per unit, but you don't have another product that's generating you more money either. So there's another opportunity cost I didn't even account for. So that other $7,000, you could have put that into something that made you 86%, and you would have actually made more money overall because now that, that ends up coming back to about, let's just call it 6,000 profit there. So instead now, it's 6,000. Getting messy here, 6,000 plus 8,600, let's call that 1,460. Or whatever, and then the other one was 10,115. And the additional benefit now is you have two products instead of one. So if you want to buy more inventory and store it because you think you're going to grow your business that way, that's not a way to grow your business. That's just a way to increase your margins, not a way to grow your business. One other thing that you could do is, so let's say that you have, remember, there's this stack of cash you're required to buy, and you have your ROI, okay? So one other thing you could do is you could increase your prices. So now your ROI becomes higher, okay? But you're going to say, wait, but I sell less. But wait, this means your stack of cash is lower. Oh, wait. So you're telling me that it requires less capital and I still get that nice little boost. So all of a sudden I've just massively increased my cash flow and my ROI. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You could sell less quantity, probably still make the same amount of money, or maybe a little bit less, but now your ROI is so huge, you don't have a cash flow issue, so then you just add another one of those. And then all of a sudden, now you're growing really fast, okay? So it's all about not tying up too much capital at any given time because we all run into cash flow issues as we grow. This is how you solve that from a mathematical standpoint. And we're going to go in depth with the formula video, but this is just the general concept. Lower that lead time, increase the ROI, you decrease your risk, you solve your cash flow issues. So as we're here in my Sellex account, I just want to show you guys what this actually looks like if you go and apply it. Now, what I found was that there's a maximum amount of money you can make on any given product. So what I really focused on was getting that exponential growth by adding more products, okay? Just keep adding. Solve all those customer needs that are unsolved in the market and take over the complete area. So I've said before that I did 44 products and I've been wrong. Apparently I did 100 products in that 5-month period. So we just had the exponential growth, but I just want to show you guys what it's like. Just make all these different variations and you'll find profit and money to be made on a lot of them. And some of them will be home runs and some of them won't, but you just got to keep adding. And I really focus on having extremely high ROI, and some of them don't have the highest, but I just wanted to show you guys, you definitely can make it happen. But just, it comes down to get a high ROI, and really, like, I put literally all of my time and efforts into focusing on my lead time and my ROI. We had a factory in my house. We had all the products shipped to us. We did all the inspection ourselves to save time. We shipped it ourselves. We would buy overnight shipping. Literally every day that I could reduce my lead time, I put every ounce of effort into that and stayed up all night just to make sure that everything was always happening. And like, let's say something was it was a Wednesday, and I knew exactly what time I had to get to the warehouse at FedEx so that I would get there on Friday, and then that way they would start to process it over the weekend, and I would get sales. I would really force everybody to do everything they could to get it in on time on Wednesday, because the difference between getting it in, started to check in on Monday versus Friday, at the end of this exponential curve made a huge difference, and I knew that mathematically, so I did everything to push out. And then I made sure I was never out of stock. If I was going to run out of stock, I would increase my price and increase my ROI so that my money could keep growing exponentially. I took out credit when I needed to so that I could keep up with the demand curve and keep adding more and more products. And we had like our own factory inside the house so we could keep adding variations. And our lead time was literally so small that I would come up with an idea, I would list it on Amazon, and then start running ads to it. And guess what? It would start to sell. Then we'd ship a couple out of our house, and I'd ship some into Amazon right away. Great, that's a new product, let's go. And so being able to kind of have this quick lead time and turnaround was the reason that we were able to do so much of this in such a short period of time. So I believe in this concept mathematically and from my personal experience. I turned $7,500 into over $3 million in 5 months of sales history, and it was only by really hardcore focus on my ROI and my margin. Oh, not even my margin, not my margin. That margin was kind of cool, but it was all about the ROI and that lead time. So, and testing out and expanding. So, hope that this has been helpful.